Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, No More Secrets. As always, I'm your aunt, Mary Albrecht.
And I'm your niece, Katie Albrecht. And today we have a special guest on, Grace Redman. So if you want to say hello real quick.
Hello, everyone. So happy to be here with you.
Thanks for coming on. We actually got acquainted with Grace through Sally Walker originally, and we got connected through their book, 360 Days of Self-Love. And she's one of the contributing authors on it, and we thought she would be a great guest for the show. And I think I'll just read the bio real quick and just to give people a little background on you. So it says that you owned and managed one of the most successful employment agencies in the San Francisco Bay Area for the last 22 years. You're also a success and transformation coach who helps guide others to diminish their negative mental chatter and create a fun and fabulous life that they love. And then Grace has a passion for guiding others step into their authentic selves to own their power, and as a result, they inspire others and raise the collective vibration. Her services include one-on-one sessions, mentoring packages, and VIP days, which is really interesting. I'm curious to know what kind of stuff you mentor on. So it sounds like just on this mindset specifically of diminishing the negative mental chatter, or is it other stuff too?
I mean, majority of it is mindset. And what I learned, which I wish I learned it so much earlier in life, is that we live 95% of our life based on these unconscious limiting beliefs we have, and 5% of our lives consciously. So that's what we do. Can we dig into those unconscious limiting beliefs, those false stories we tell ourselves? And I help my clients to start rewriting the stories to more empowering stories, because that's what keeps us stuck, are those beliefs.
95%? The studies have shown that 95% is we're stuck in our limiting beliefs. That's a huge percentage. Wow.
Huge. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then definitely need to tap into it. Good Lord.
For sure. And it's crazy. I mean, what's crazy is I've been, reading self-help since I was 15, and I never even learned, I didn't even learn that until I was in my 40s. I'm like, holy cow. Like, how did I not know this sooner?
Yeah. And is it because the self-help books and articles, they weren't as evolved, or it seems like
maybe I just wasn't ready to hear it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And so that's what I want to make people aware of, is like, we have these stories that we tell ourselves, and they're false. They're not true. They're created from the impactful events we have in our lives. We create these stories, then we live, our life based on these stories, limiting beliefs, and they're not even true. And so those are the things, those stories hold us back.
Wow.
Those stories hold us back.
How did you discover that? I mean, you were in your 40s, but how did that happen? Like, was there an aha moment, or?
So I went back. I mean, as you know, I've been, running this staffing firm now for the last 23 years, and 7 years ago, I just was inspired to go back and get coach certified, because so much of what I had been doing was coaching, and I loved it. It just felt like a natural progression. When I went back to get coach certified, that's where we started to learn about the limiting beliefs. And that's where I learned, like, okay, 95% of my life has been lived by these BS stories I've been telling myself. And so that's how I learned, is when I went back to get my coach certifications.
Wow. I think I might have to hire her. I'm in a tough spot.
You got a perfect opportunity for it right now.
Let's just talk about me.
Let's do it.
It all comes back to Mary.
Yep. But no, I'm in a stuck space with the death of my husband, and so I'm just gonna put that up in the bank, in the memory bank, and reach out to you at some point. But
I mean, definitely give yourself time to, the grieving process, takes time. So be gentle with yourself, and you have a right to grieve, sister.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard. It's harder than I ever thought it would be. I thought I was prepared, but how you can't really ever be prepared, right? Yeah. So anyway, that was so great. We got back to me again. But I did really want to ask you about what got you into this kind of work. You had said that when we first talked, you wanted people to know the past doesn't define you, because the past is probably what gives you 95% of those messages, right?
Right.
And so, what was your past? What was your personal experience that caused the trauma to lead you to want to grow and heal?
So I had a situation when I was 19 years old. And up to that point, I knew that something was off. I was feeling down and depressed often. I mean, I know teenagers go through that, but I knew something was off. My life was off.
Okay.
And I had a boyfriend. I was 19, and he hit me.
Oh.
And in that moment, I knew that I had to do something. Like I was very depressed. I was starting, to drink, dabble in a little bit of drugs. And intuitively, I knew that I needed support and help. And in that moment is when I sought out therapy. Now, the world around me didn't believe in therapy. Like if you told someone that you're going to therapy, then you're pretty much crazy.
Yep, back then. Yep.
Yeah. And so that's how my journey started. I feel like intuitively led to, first of all, I wanted help. And then intuitively, then I saw an article in a newspaper. Yeah, they had newspapers back then.
Do you know what
What's a newspaper?
Right? They had newspaper. And
Teach my millennial self.
Right? What's a phone book, newspaper, And
phone book.
Oh, wow. I do remember phone books, but it is wild that your number was just on public, knowledge to people, Just a blast from the past.
Okay, I'll leave it there. I'm not going to tell you about 411, but Mary, you remember 411?
Yes.
I also remember 411. I was on the brink of some of these older technologies and stuff, so I definitely used that a few times.
You sought out help.
So I sought out help at therapy, and I remember a few years ago, my therapist was retiring. I saw her on and off for 25 years. And when she was retiring a few years ago, she said, when I first met you when you were 19, I didn't think there was any hope for you. I thought you're going to go down that same, toxic, abusive road. And
wow.
She said, I hope I'm not offending you. I said, absolutely not. I'm not offended in any way, shape, or form. That speaks to my resilience.
Yes.
And how when you met me, I was 19 and messed up. And now, at the age of, I think 40 something, the past didn't define me. I was able to get healthy, create a life, build a family, build a business. And that's how it started. I think I started reading self-help books before I was 19. But why I want to help people now is because I've been there. It doesn't feel good to be in that depression, to be in the people pleasing. Mm-hmm. And where I'm at now, I never imagined I'd be where I am. And that's why I want to share this. It's like, we don't have to live in that depression, in that sadness, in the people pleasing, in the codependency. There is freedom on the other side of that. Then it feels amazing. Okay. It's not easy.
Yeah, right.
How long do you think that process took you from the point where your therapist said when you were 19 that there was no hope for you or whatever similar, till you finally felt healthy again, where you started to feel a little bit better and thought better of yourself or of the world around you, I guess?
That's a great question. I mean, I think it's been a constant practice and journey. I mean, it took me, 30 something years to get here, but I think I improved and I expanded and I grew every step of the way. Mm-hmm. And it's like unraveling, like you have that ball of rubber bands. Remember when we were kids, we used to make that rubber band ball, and it's just unraveling it. So, I mean, it'll take a lifetime, really.
But you're confident that you're not going to ever end up the way you felt when you were 19.
Oh, I'm very confident.
You're
I'm not
so
saying
far
I haven't
from that.
had.
Yeah.
And I have challenges. I just recently experienced a challenge, but because I have the tools, it doesn't feel as desperate. Like you don't feel as desperate. You don't feel as down. The intensity isn't as intense. It doesn't last as long.
Okay, the tools is a big thing. That is a word that constantly comes up in mental health. You need to have tools in place to fix it.
Yes.
Just like anything else, you got to have a toolbox with a screwdriver and a wrench in it for your house. Well, you need the same thing for your mind, So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that was pretty good.
It was good metaphors and everything.
Do you want to? Did you have a question? Sorry.
I was just wondering, what made you want to officially step away from that relationship when you were 19? Like, what made you break that cycle of abuse? I guess.
Well, I mean, again, we have that inner wisdom, and I just felt it within me. Like, I just felt horrible. I felt sick. My body just didn't feel right. I knew I had to make a change. You just know internally when something's off. You're not in alignment. You don't feel right.
And because I'm very interested in this topic because we've seen a lot of it and we've lived a lot of this with like breaking the cycle and stuff. And I almost think that you need to, there's going to be people that tell you sooner, but it's like whenever that you're ready, you'll be able to step away. And I think the people around you probably see it first, but it takes a little bit longer for you to see the changes that you need to make to get out of a bad situation.
For sure. And sometimes people don't get out of the situation, and they just go from one bad situation to another.
What is your family of origin? It's the way that it's said in the mental health field. What did they think about your boyfriend when you were 19? Well, I mean, I wasn't supposed to be dating when I was 19. I come from a culture where you get married. You don't date, you just get married. I know that sounds crazy. So they weren't aware of the situation, or I didn't make it aware. Maybe they did know. Okay.
But if they did know, of course they wouldn't have approved.
Did they know that he hit you?
No.
Interesting.
No. Which is interesting because, I mean, I was perpetuating a pattern, and that pattern was the emotional, mental, and physical abuse. I had witnessed the women in the world around me get abused emotionally, mentally, physically.
Including your mom?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that took a toll, on me. I think it had something to do with my low self-esteem. And what was I going to do? I'm perpetuating the cycle. So I attract exactly the same thing that I witnessed in the world around me.
Because it's familiar.
Yeah, you don't know anything different.
I don't know anything different.
Do you want to share a little bit about your childhood? You have siblings, right?
Sure.
You have a disabled sister, is that correct?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So I was the oldest of 5. And my mom was very young when she had me. She was 18 years old. She was very young.
Wow.
And so being the oldest of 5, I took on a lot of responsibility. And so I was babysitting, from the time I was, 6 or 7 years old, learned how to clean house, was taking care. So I didn't really have a childhood. Now, hindsight, it's really helped me because I am super independent. I know how to take care of myself and everyone else. But when you're 6 and 7, that's traumatic.
Yeah.
And
you don't know how to be a child.
You don't know how to be a child. This is where I was telling my own coach, I'm like, I feel like I'm like I'm living my teenage years now.
I think we talked about that when we first met. Because, I'm just like,
getting drunk every night,
and just
laughing, but
saying,
other stuff,
saying stupid things and laughing a lot and just enjoying the moment.
That's how life should be.
Yeah, but it wasn't my childhood either,
And it wasn't mine.
And your sister was born disabled, or what happened?
No, so she wasn't. When she was 4 years old, which this also put, which was very difficult for the entire family, my parents, for her, the siblings. When she was 4 years old, all of a sudden she started getting very high fevers, 100-degree fevers. And those fevers would come on at night, and they lasted for months and months and months. Doctors didn't know what was wrong with her. Eventually she was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis.
Whoa.
And
Wow.
She's amazing. Tomorrow's her birthday, actually.
Oh.
She's in her 40s. And although she's, physically challenged, she received her PhD. She went away to college. She got married. She works in mental health now. She's a counselor at one of the universities. So she's amazing.
Wow.
But that also, when we were young, that put added pressure
Well, yeah.
on me as the older sister. But not only that, just to witness your siblings suffer
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
was just heartbreaking.
how did your parents deal with it?
Well, it was, we never really talked about it. We really never talked about it. And so now that I'm older, I wish that I had the opportunity to talk to them about how they felt. What do they do? Did you do what you got to do?
Yeah.
Are they passed away
but
now?
I know that was traumatic. I know, I can imagine now, hindsight, that was heartbreaking for them as well. So how did they manage it? That's a great question.
I'm assuming, since you're speaking in past tense, that they've passed away. Is that correct?
Both my parents have passed, right?
Okay.
And then you have brothers or other sisters, or?
I have 3 brothers, so I'm the oldest of 5. And then I have a brother, then my sister, then 2 brothers under the sister.
Brother, sister, 2 brothers. Okay. And are you close? Enough?
It's a hard thing to
I
answer,
know,
right?
like close. What's close?
What is close?
So going through this process, I've had to estrange myself from my family twice. I'm no longer estranged. But that was part of my story, is like, when you start to heal, you need to set your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the boundaries I had to set, because being the oldest in the community I come from, there's a lot of expectations put on you, especially being a girl.
Yeah.
And a lot of those expectations were unrealistic, and they were abusive and toxic. So as I walked my journey, there was times in my journey where I had to set my boundaries and walk away to heal myself. And now I'm connected.
Yes.
Yeah. But my siblings know, and everyone is like, when they need something, I'm there for them. Like, no matter what was happening, even when I was estranged, if something happened, they needed something, I was there. But I had to do that to heal, number one, heal myself, and to also teach people how to treat me.
That is so hard.
Very hard.
I don't know when you started doing that, but Katie did it when she was 22. And boy, did she get, a hard, it was hard.
And I really like that or first of all, being honest or open about it, that you were estranged, and that you now have a relationship with them again, because I think that's something that's not always talked about. And I've personally experienced it too, where I was estranged from my father, although the rest of the family kind of came with it because of the way that it was set up. And I struggled with the idea of, like, will we have a relationship after this, and fortunately, after my dad passed away, we were able to get that relationship back a little bit, but it was not easy, and there was a lot of work that had to be done for me, and for, like what you said, with like boundaries and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess it's a risk you have to take, right? Just to preserve yourself.
Oh, well, I mean, that same therapist, when I went back to her, whatever, 9 years ago, whatever it was, with another family situation, I was estranged, then I went back, then same shit. And she said to me, she told me, go home, Grace. I said, what? She said, go home. This is the same story, 20 years later, it's the same thing. You have a choice to make. Either I'm getting emotional. She goes, either you could die like your mother, or you can save yourself and your family, meaning my husband and my kids.
I love your therapist. I think she's so blunt, but then tells you exactly what you need to hear.
She fucking told me to, oh, sorry guys.
No, fucking is great.
Yeah.
I mean,
fuck
she
yeah.
told me to go home. She told me to go home. Go home. I need to think about this. Come back next week.
Go home to your family and your kids, not to those people. Yeah. That wasn't your home. Yeah.
Exactly. And I had a decision.
I really do like that.
Yeah. And I had a decision to make. And I made the decision to save myself and my family. And when I made that decision, my husband finally said to me, and I never knew he felt this way. He goes, maybe now you can just focus on us, meaning him and the kids. I didn't realize, and that was the only thing he said. I never realized that all of the drama that I was experiencing here was affecting them.
Okay. Wow.
And so I made that, like, I chose myself and my family. And that was the the best decision I had ever made.
And then how long did you stay away from the others, the toxic ones?
I mean, it was years. I mean, at least 5 years.
And now,
not my sister, because I'm not gonna, I'm always gonna be there to support her. But I, of course, have to set boundaries. We always have to set boundaries. So at least 5 years.
wow.
I mean, there's one family, like I'm polite, I'm cordial, but the relationship is still distant.
So
this is really vulnerable, guys. So for those of you watching,
But doesn't it feel kind of good to get it out?
it does, and I don't have anything to hide. I just really want to be respectful to those people. And
Absolutely.
And again, there's no good or bad. It just is. Like we are a product of our environment, and I feel blessed that I feel blessed that I had the awareness to step out and heal, because I realized as I heal myself, I'm also healing the family. I'm healing the generation. They might not know that, they might not see it, but I know spiritually and in my higher awareness that I'm not just doing this for myself. It's for the entire lineage.
Absolutely. And when you do heal yourself, you are healing the chance to have a good relationship with them too. And sometimes to fix a relationship, it involves space. It doesn't.
For sure.
It doesn't involve like being around them all the time. You need to be able to sort yourself
100%.
out. And I think that's really great.
100%.
So let's talk about perfectionism. Is that a good transition?
Sure.
Because you really, that's how you dealt with your shame, your vulnerabilities, right? You just went overboard with perfectionism. Do you want to
For sure. I think, yeah.
explain how that manifested? Yeah.
Well, coming from an environment where you're just not celebrated. There was no failure. Everything had to be perfect. It was all about image. Was never taught self-worth. And the way that I was validated is whenever I did something to help someone or I did something good, I got at least some type of, positive attention. So that's the belief that I created, which it benefited me until it no longer benefited me. So the belief was, as long as I did good or I did for others, then I was worthy.
But you weren't worthy just because you existed. You had to do something.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. My worth was dependent on what I did for you, what I achieved, how I looked, how I showed up. There was just such unrealistic expectations. And that's where the perfectionist came up. If I could just be perfect, but we know that's sabotage. It's self-sabotage.
Right.
It's impossible.
And so,
and the overachieving, again, it served its purpose. It got me to where I needed to be, where I wanted to be, until it no longer was serving me.
I like the way it worked for you until it didn't work for you. That's a really good line.
Right.
This is a question for both of you. Do perfectionists?
Oh,
because you kind of like.
I definitely.
That's how you handled stuff too.
Yep.
Did you guys? And this is kind of off topic, but did you get straight A's in high school?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
Interesting.
No. My perfectionism came in the way of being very kind and nice, and I'm always going to give to you and I'm going to do for you.
People pleasing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in high school, I didn't get straight A's. No.
I just associated the two, and I did not get straight A's. So.
But I was also a nice girl. I was friends with everybody. I was a people pleaser. But I also got good grades because I had to get good grades, because otherwise my parents thought they were failures because of my older brother, who would get F's and D's and stuff. So if I got good grades, I could fix it for them, Mm-hmm. But yeah. So
I was just wondering. That's a little side note.
But that's a great example of how our beliefs are different, but to achieve the same thing. Like the belief in your family was you had to have straight A's to, make them proud or make them, have you be seen. Whereas in my family, it wasn't so, because I was a girl, it wasn't really about the straight A's. It was about, how good, how nice was I, how much was I doing for everyone?
Wow.
So two different limiting beliefs to get to the same place.
I have a third one for you guys. My family, it was not necessarily to get straight A's. It was to be good at sports and all of them.
Oh God.
All of
your dad.
That was my dad. Yeah. Yeah. So, which being in sports is not a bad thing, but I never lived up to, I think, what I was supposed to in my dad's mind. I was very athletic and I was decent at stuff. But I did not. He wanted me to go into professional, like everything. He had me playing softball with 18U when I was 14 years old, and didn't.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a big age gap there, and I didn't fit in with them at all. I was all nervous because they were, these teenage girls where I'm this awkward middle schooler. We had 6-hour practices, and I didn't speak for 6 hours a day because I felt so uncomfortable around them. And so uncomfortable.
This is the first I've heard. See,
You haven't heard about the softball team?
No, this podcast, we
was
learned
bad.
so much about each other.
And that pressure to
The pressure.
be good, be that good of a player that I'm playing with 18-year-olds as a 14-year-old was not sustainable, especially for 6 hours a day.
Yeah, it's abuse. It really is.
Oh, man.
It goes back to that. Oh, gosh. Anyway, so when did you start to realize that perfectionism wasn't working for you anymore? Oh, boy.
Well, I mean, I had the kids, I had the business, I was, taking care of the family. I think it was something happens when you hit 40, then something happens when you hit 50. I just knew it wasn't sustainable. It was too much. It goes back to that same feeling. I was out of alignment.
Okay.
My body was talking to me. It was it was either my back was hurting or my head was hurting. I just wasn't happy. I had everything. We had money, a beautiful home, I had a great husband, the kids, everything. And I was exhausted.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. That's an interesting, we hear that a lot. You get everything around you so perfect, but you haven't really adjusted yourself yet,
Right.
And so
Plus, I mean, when we're worrying about what everyone thinks about us and we're taking everything personal and we're just trying to live up to this unrealistic, Katie said, how sustainable is that?
yeah, I'm still kind of shocked about that. About the 6 hours when you're 14.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. And then not talking because you're so shy and uncomfortable,
But look at you now, you're a badass.
Thank you. That's what I was going for. Yeah, now I feel very comfortable talking, and doing it publicly and, all that stuff. But
Exactly.
it took a while to get to that point. They would okay, this is so tangent, but these teenagers would talk about shaving their legs and stuff. And I was like, how do I talk about this? I'm 14, I'm still in 8th grade. I'm supposed to start shaving my legs.
Nobody's told me about this.
I know. Yeah. It's just a funny part of my past, I guess.
It is. It's pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
Good Lord. Okay, so let me go refer to my notes.
You already are.
So you talk about your coaching as being both practical and spiritual.
Right.
And I like that because it seems like you need both. And how
I believe so.
and how what do you mean when you say that though? In what way is it practical and what way is it spiritual?
Well, I mean, it goes back to, I started reading self-help books before before I even went to therapy when I was 19. And I was just immersed in that world, and I was able to create, I was successful, attract a kind, man, and my kids were good. I use all those success principles from Grant Cardone and Zig Ziglar, and I created amazing. What was missing was the spiritual piece, was where it's okay, know your worth. the law, use the laws of the universe to your advantage. So that's where I take like all of these practical pieces. Yes, we need to take action. Yes, we need to set goals, but it doesn't have to be in a grind. We don't have to grind. We could do it from a place of confidence, from a place of a hip hustle instead of a grind hustle. And so that's what I talk about. Okay, let's take the practical, but then combine it with the spiritual to really create freedom from a place of ease and grace.
When you say like the laws of the universe, do you mean like the law of attraction?
So, yes, law of attraction.
There's other ones too, right? That's the one that I'm a little bit more.
It's all the same. It's all the same.
Because it's like what you put out into the universe, you attract back. Is that right?
For sure. But I don't believe like I'm just going to sit on my couch and I'm going to think about it and come. I take the practical. We got to take action. So bring it all together. But the action doesn't have to. Well, here's the other piece. You have to know your why. And the why is pretty intrinsic.
Know your why. I like this. This is know your why of what? Wanting to change, wanting to grow. What are you talking?
What is your why? Like if I'm, why did I want to go into business? Well, what's the why? When we keep drilling down, the why becomes really intrinsic. It's really not about, everyone wants to make. It's not about making the money. It goes back to something deeper. Mm-hmm. And so on the practical side, the why is, okay, I want to make money. But when you drill it down on the spiritual side, it's really typically, more about wanting to make an impact. It's more intrinsic.
Okay.
So
I like that.
I could see that.
I feel like our why with the podcast and also with our book is deeper than just wanting to write a book and say we're an author.
Absolutely. It was meant to heal ourselves. I mean, at first, but also
That's
to
right.
heal others that read it through the process too, which I'm sure you can probably relate to as an author, that the things that you write seem to help people in ways that you probably don't expect, or at least
Right.
that's the goal,
That's right. That's right. What I've learned is really we do this for ourselves. Yes, I love giving back. It feels amazing, but but ultimately, like when we're doing this work, we're doing it for ourselves. We're helping heal ourselves at the same time.
Definitely. We, when we were writing the book, it was helping me climb out of like a depression, because my dad had just died and so I hadn't talked to him for the year before that. And I needed to get that out because it was just sitting in my brain. So to say that it was only to help other people is not the full truth. Like, it was definitely helping me to like get it out so that I could not be as depressed anymore.
And I truly believe, lately I'm just making an effort to embrace this. When we live our best life, we're authentic and we're healing ourselves and doing the work, we're naturally going to inspire other people.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's what I crave. I crave authenticity. I love that word. I don't want to bullshit with people anymore. I don't want to act a certain way if I'm not feeling a certain way.
Right.
I want to be real and not be reprimanded for it. And
I like that.
yeah. And so, I mean, I'll give you an example. This morning, I had a meltdown, and I came into work, and my massage therapist was here, and one of my clients was here, and I just stormed about, and I was just angry, and I was confused and overwhelmed and overstimulated, and they just sat there and let me be that, as opposed to telling me to calm down or, you're making a big deal kind of thing. They just waited, and then they gave me that platform, and all of a sudden I started to cry, and I just fell apart for about an hour, and nothing changed in our relationship, in the sense that those are healthy people to have around you when you can be that way and not be told you're wrong.
Yes.
And not be told you're bad.
Yes.
And you're embarrassing me or whatever. And it was such a contrast to, growing up, for instance, or even the old me where I would always hide that kind of stuff. But since our book came out, and then now since Terry's illness and he's died, I can't be anything except authentic, because otherwise I'll just curl up and die. I need to feel it. And so I think it's nice if you can teach people that through yourself, but also through your work that you do. Your own growth, but also your work. Because that's where it's at.
Absolutely. It's funny that you said that. I think the greatest gift we can give another person is to just hold space for them and honor what they're feeling, regardless of what they're feeling.
Yes.
And so often we just want to jump in and fix it, but I think people just want to we have to move through that pain.
Yeah, especially this kind of situation. But really any situation, it matters, to just listen as opposed to basically diminish you by saying, calm down, you're overreacting.
Yes.
And it's not that way at all. And you're like, I just told you this is how I feel. So for me, it is this way,
Yes.
Oh, look at Dunkel. Oh, big stretch.
I know, like, we're talking about mental health. And so when my mom died and I was pregnant with my second son, I went into really severe depression. And when I went to one of my relatives and I said, I don't feel good, like something's wrong. And and God bless her, like she was doing the best she could for me in that moment. She said, you're fine. It's okay. Just be strong. Just get over it.
Ooh.
Ooh. And so we're taught to eat our we're taught to push down our feelings I think, I was older then, but, like you mentioned, Mary, it's like, how often did you really express yourself when you were growing up? Was it like, that wasn't the right thing to do in my household? I know that for sure, because then I was called names and sensitive and.
Yep.
Defensive.
Rarely did I express how I was really feeling, because it would backfire on me. So.
Me too.
So to go to somebody and say I'm not right, and then they say, well, okay, so that's a different topic, because I'm finding that I have to learn who I choose to share with. Okay, you just right? Because there's safe places, and then there's people that you can't count on to give you what you need.
Right. And it doesn't make them wrong.
It doesn't make them wrong. It just makes them, not what you need at the moment.
Right. And they can only meet you to the point that they can meet themselves.
Okay. Yeah. So I shared the same thing after this morning, and then I shared like an hour later with somebody else. And that person, I love that person, but they said, you'll be fine. Like how you just said. You're going to have you're going to have bad days, but it's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Just, get over it, kind of, or just keep going, as opposed to really hearing how upset I was in the moment, But sometimes you need to hear that too, like it depends who it is.
Like your therapist.
Yeah, like just go, Grace, go
She
home.
was like,
Go
go home.
This hasn't changed. Go home. Yeah.
What's wrong with you? I love it.
Brings it back. Do you have a book coming out? Did I read that right?
I do.
We talked about that when we were.
So I have a book coming out on November 11th of this year, 2022. And it's just really about how to live your best life. I know that sounds cliche, but just create that fabulous life you're dreaming of, because we all have this image of what we really want, how we want to live, but it seems so, out there, and it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be.
Is this your first book that you are writing by yourself? Because I know that you've contributed to this one. So this is your first full book.
Yeah. I have I'm an author in several compilation books, so this will be my first solo
That's
book.
great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's kind of cool to go into the next, creative path and everything.
Totally.
And you have a podcast as well.
I do,
And
which
so-
I'd love to have you guys as guests on my podcast.
Oh.
We'd be happy to join.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of
Maybe
shy.
we'll live.
We'll bring our backdrop and everything, you know.
Yeah, I love it. We'll go live. We go live.
Well, that's
and
interesting.
It's, very similar. It's just there's so many incredible people in my community and so many people that we know in our lives that really overcome challenges and create amazing lives that we don't really celebrate them or they think, well, it's not that big of a deal because we're watching TV and we're kind of celebrating the people on TV, but the real heroes, and those are heroes too, the real heroes are in our community.
Yes.
And so it's like I just bring these incredible people on from my community. They get vulnerable. They talk about their challenges and how they overcame them to get to where they're at. So it's very vulnerable, real, raw, and some of it is very spiritual and woo-woo, and others are more practical. But it's amazing. There's something for everyone.
Real talk with Grace Redman, right?
That's right.
I love that. Real talk, you know.
How long have you...
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
sorry.
going to ask that too.
Oh,
Like, yeah.
okay. Want to do it at the same time?
Okay.
How long have you been doing the podcast?
I love it. So it started in March of 2021. So over a little bit over
Okay.
a year.
So it's kind of new in the grand scheme of things and everything. Okay.
Nice.
It is.
Do you do it weekly?
Pretty much. I mean, sometimes things happen and my guests, I need to reschedule or I'm on vacation, but we try to keep it weekly. But, sometimes we miss a week here and there.
We get that.
Ugh. Mostly I miss for tragedy, but I'm hoping to miss for vacation at some point.
We took some
Yes.
breaks last year.
But I wasn't on vacation.
No.
Well, maybe for you it was.
I took vacations. You get the opportunity
I do.
to as well.
I
Or at
have
least
the-
more of an opportunity.
I
Yeah.
have that choice now. But yeah, we'd love to be guests. I mean, what would you like us to talk about?
Oh my God, girl, we have so much to talk about.
I can't think of anything.
I don't speak.
For 6 hours. You need to shut
For,
up.
it's for 6 hours a day. I can't speak actually, so it's got to be outside of that window.
I'll take it.
Perfect.
So I love what you talked about when you said that you've been married for 24 years to a kind
Yes.
person, kind guy. I'm like, oh, how simple. But people like us don't necessarily find kind guys right away, right? I've been
Right.
in bad relationships. It's like, why don't we? I guess because it's not familiar. But how did you allow yourself to accept a kind guy into your life?
Well, I mean, I was in my mid-20s, so I had already been in therapy for a few years.
Okay, that helps.
and I knew what I wanted. I knew, and don't get me wrong, and nothing's perfect. We've had our challenges. But one thing about Mike, he's always been kind and respectful and loving. And, I come from a situation where it was more, abusive and just being called names. So I'm so grateful for, him to just kind of be steadfast in his kindness and his respect. So I was in my mid-20s. So I already been in therapy and I was kind of entrenched in the self-help. And I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted someone to treat me, nicely and respectfully. So I feel part of it was, I attracted that based on that intention. Now there's other fucked up shit, unconscious beliefs I had, which I attracted those things too. But the blessing is that, we've been able to be, such good friends and have like just mutual respect for each other. And for that, I'm so grateful because I know based on my history, I could have attracted something very different.
And it creeps up when least expected. When all of a sudden you don't feel worthy, or you react to something a certain way because I'm talking about myself, but like I just feel like Katie's dad, and I put this in the book, he's morphed into my brain because my brain formed side by side with his mental illness, and he's like this dark shadow lurking, and every once in a while he just pops out and goes boo, and I react to something in my relationships that doesn't have to happen, And if that person is steadfast and kind and patient, they get that. They just allow it to pass because it's not the whole of you.
Right. Right.
I like that
Right.
it's like you're reacting to your past trauma instead of like what's in front of you directly.
Yes.
Like in the situation, so it might actually be like you feel worse or like you're acting worse or something than what the situation applies for or something
because
like
of your
that.
past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've definitely experienced that too.
So, this is so interesting. Like, we attract each other based on our traumas. And
Okay.
my girlfriend, she's a therapist, and she's like, she kind of put that in my mind a few months ago. It's like when we attract based on our trauma, and it's so true.
Everybody, or just people that are willing to?
Say that again.
Does she say or you say that everybody attracts because of their traumas, or is
For
it
sure.
only people that are willing to? You know what I mean? Like
I
people
think
that aren't ready to face their trauma.
No, I think regardless if we're aware of it or not, like what we attract is based on our beliefs, on the trauma.
Okay, all right.
I believe that.
So
You
knew that?
Yeah, because I know that I feel like I can connect with people who have experienced a not so perfect life. I feel like
Which is most of us.
right, yeah, like I feel like I get them more, whereas people where it seems like they haven't had the same kind of struggles, which I'm sure everyone has had some sort of struggle in their life, but if it feels like it's not quite the same, I don't always understand right away. I don't understand that person as quickly. Can I in the future? Sure, but like I feel like I get instant connections from people that I know get it.
Yeah.
Well, like they say, like attracts like. I mean, it goes back to the laws. Like attracts like. We're a mirror.
Yeah. And so I feel like at 30, she's doing pretty well with self-awareness.
She's doing fantastic.
Yeah, because she's only
Say more things.
she's only 30.
Girl, at 30, I was a people pleaser. I was codependent. I was an enabler. You're doing fantastic, girl.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
It's true, but I feel like the podcast and the book and also the willingness to learn and go through the crap.
I'm also in therapy too.
Yeah, has helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have a coach. I always have coach, which is like therapy now. Like I
Yeah.
always.
I like to go back to therapy every so often. Sometimes I feel okay without it, and then I recently I felt the need to go back, and it's been really great.
Yeah, it's
So-
always there.
Yeah, similar to a coach though. I can see the similarities. You look
So-
like you're gonna say something.
What is the name of your coaching practice? Is it?
So the name of my coaching practice is Dare to Achieve.
Oh, interesting. Coming from a perfectionist. Because you're talking achieve mentally and emotionally,
I mean, to achieve whatever you choose, whatever that may be.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that?
So I think now it's going on 7 years. It's like time flies. We're going on 7 years now with Dare to Achieve.
And you have 2 sons, is that right?
I have 2 sons,
And they are how old?
19 and almost 22.
Wow.
Oh, Gen Z, huh? How much TikTok is in your house?
What is it?
How much TikTok is in your house?
Oh, not that well. A little bit of TikTok.
Yeah.
But they're amazing. The awareness they have at their age is unreal. I told them, like, my son walked into my room the other day to tell me something or tell me a story. I'm like, oh my God, kid, at 19, I was a mess. I said, you have more awareness in your, pinky than I had in my whole body at 19, or in my own awareness at 19.
And especially for a guy, sorry to stereotype, but their frontal
That's
lobe
true.
doesn't develop as quickly.
They're amazing. Not just them, like their kids, the friends that come over. I mean, their generation is, they're pretty aware and smart.
Are they in the area? Or does one live with you or both?
They both live with me,
Nice. That's,
with us.
Yeah. And do they have girlfriends or?
They have friends.
Okay. Yeah. But you like the friends and they're healthy and
they're
adjusted.
wonderful.
Yeah.
They're very healthy, very adjusted. They have wonderful friends. We're very blessed to be part of an incredible community. Again, nothing's perfect. I don't have rose-colored glasses on. But overall, I think, at the core, I think people are good. and we're blessed to be surrounded by good people. And when challenges, come up, we, address them and do the best we can. And I've taught my kids how to set boundaries.
How great. What a great thing to teach a kid. Oh my God.
And that you're leading by example too, not just telling them to have boundaries,
Because what? They're listening, they're watching. I didn't think they were, but they're watching you and listening. I mean, from the time they're this big, they're watching and listening. So yeah, you set the example.
Whereas every boundary I tried to create, I got told I was wrong. Or
boundaries weren't allowed.
It got invaded, and not necessarily told, but by action. Like I would say to my mom, I'm 12. I'm very tired. I want to go to bed. Oh no, not you too. Are you mad at me? And then you're like, oh no, I'm not mad. I'm just tired, Mom. I'm tired, And then I would be like, I just have to go to the bathroom. I'm tired of talking. And I would go to the bathroom and she'd be outside the door. Don't shut the door on me. And I'm like, I'm in the bathroom. I'm 12. Like you just no boundaries.
That's probably where my dad got it from then.
Yeah.
Except he would yell, and then when you walked into another room, he would follow you and continue yelling.
And he yelled very loud.
And then, like, Dad, can we stop? No, he would follow you throughout the house and continue to booming yell and everything. So boundaries was not a concept with us either, for sure.
No, I mean, I don't think I learned the word boundary till, of course I was therapy, but I didn't learn how to set boundaries until, when I started on this coaching journey. Really, it's not easy.
Yeah, and I occasionally swing back, because... Of
course, I do too.
Okay, yeah, because especially if you get triggered by something, or if you're around somebody that isn't respectful of the messages you're sending out, then I automatically think, oh, I need to be nice to that person, and I need to accept what they're saying and do something that they want me to do, even though I really don't want to.
You don't have to.
And you don't have to, right?
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
No, I think I exhaled kind of like I went like a...
Oh.
And then you went...
It sounds sexy.
Yeah, that's what I go for, baby.
Yeah, especially on a podcast with your aunt.
Right.
Dynamic duo.
Sexy is as sexy
the
does.
Two hotties.
It's fun. It's really nice having a co-author and having a co-host on a podcast. Well, or having Katie,
Oh.
Yeah, not just somebody. It's like we really connect, and we grow and we learn, and it's nice to share that with somebody that gets it.
Ditto.
You're both amazing. You have amazing energy.
You're amazing.
Vibe off each other. I wish I was there in the room with you.
Yeah, you got to come see it.
Wait, you're going to be in town June 6th through 12th?
She said she's not anymore.
I'm not going to be, but when I do come out there, I definitely will visit you guys.
Okay. Why aren't you coming in June? Something changed. Huh?
I had there's a change of plans. We had a girlfriend's 50th, but that's changed. So as soon as I am out there, I will definitely hit you up.
So
sounds great.
Yeah. We Sherry's husband. So my massage therapist, her husband, says that he looks forward to listening to our podcast because it makes him laugh. And I think that's so funny because we talk about such serious stuff, but he's always just laughing because of the certain things that happen, and
talking about abuse, assisted suicide,
and just depression and
anxiety, alcoholism. I mean,
and we make people laugh.
It's hilarious.
It's such a great. Yeah.
I love it. Well, that's one of the intentions. Like I wrote down today for I wanted to be vulnerable and this, but I also want to have fun and laugh. Because we have to. I mean, I know these are serious subjects, but at the same time, it's like we gotta laugh.
You gotta laugh all the time, I think. I mean, it's all intertwined. Like today with my meltdown, I made a joke and we laughed, and it's not like, well, now you're not sad. No, I'm both. I'm laughing and I'm sad.
We can be both. We can be both.
Yeah. Yeah. All at the same time,
I am happy, I am not. Remember that episode?
Yes.
We kind of like talked about that early on before we were doing video and all that. One of our first episodes was titled I am happy, I am not, which means like even if you're happy like all the time, or if it looks like you are, like you're never going to actually be happy all the time. You are both. You are a complex human filled with complex emotions,
Yeah, we are.
All at the same time.
Yeah. And that's something my mentor, which I love her to death, Sunny Dawn Johnson, taught me. She goes, it doesn't have to be this or that, Grace. It could be this and that.
Oh, I love that.
This and that.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's a good message to share.
Mm-hmm.
Because as humans, we're not compartmentalized. We cross over and have all emotions, all at the same time.
For sure. And something I want to put out.
Sorry.
I missed some. What did I miss?
It was a moment between us. I'm sorry.
Mary was giving me the side eye like this.
I thought she was staring at me, and I was like, "What are you looking at?"
Because she was talking, and I was looking at the
that's
speaker.
Where the fun laughter comes in.
I was looking at you because you were speaking. She's like giving me the side eye. Like,
what are you looking at? What were you saying, Grace? I'm so sorry.
Oh, you know what? I think I want to find a co-host because your guys are making it look so fun.
It makes it easier, that's for sure.
Maybe your
More
son.
motivated.
One of your sons?
One of my sons. They'll be like, yeah, no, I don't got time for you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Anyway, I'm sorry, you were saying something really poignant.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
That happens to us a lot, too.
Should we give you the side eye, too, both of us?
Oh, this is what I was saying, you guys.
See? It worked.
I mean, being in a leadership role and being, a coach. So I want to, put this out there for any of you that are watching that are in leadership or coaching roles. Like, we don't have to be perfect to be good at what we do. Mm-hmm. We're human. And no one's going to know everything. No one's going to be perfect. And we're in this constant state of expansion and growth. And so that's where drop the perfectionism. If you want to do something or teach something or step into a leadership role, you don't have to be perfect. I think that's what makes you a great leader is your imperfections. Because and having those experiences.
You're approachable.
And being real and raw.
People can relate to you. You're approachable. You know, and you're like, hey, I'm human too, and I'm going through this, and these are the tools I'm using to get through. It's not pretty, but it's better than what it was. Yeah. And Aw.
Can I look at you side-eyed?
I can't not look at her and not see it, or I can't look at her and not see it.
It's like, what you looking at, boy?
It's like, have you ever seen dogs do that where they give you that like goofy side eye when you're about to like let them inside or something? I don't know. That's what it reminded me of.
I love my dog.
Well, I think we can start to wrap it up a little bit. This has been a pleasure talking to you again. I think you're such a fun person, and you're so open, and you're so kind, and all of the things, this and that, all of the time, So I appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure. It was a lot of fun. It was incredible. I think you both are amazing, and I'd love to stay connected, and definitely will, get your podcast out there. I think this is really necessary to talk about the subjects that you're talking about. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing, both of you.
Wow.
Thank you.
I don't know what to say.
Speechless. Rendered her speechless.
When do I ever get
That's a feat. That's an incredible feat.
No, I mean it. I really mean it. It's so necessary what the two of you are doing.
You too. My gosh.
Yeah, back at you.
And like I said, I'm reaching out for your services because I'm all fucked up in my head from.
Girl, I'm like whatever you need. Just let me know whenever you're ready.
Death thing of your husband. It kind of fucks with you.
Yeah, that's a small thing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, that sucked.
Well, that sucked. with the shoulder shrug at the end.
Oh well, easy come, easy go.
You're amazing, Mary. I mean, you're showing up today, even though like you're not, like you said, you had a meltdown. I mean, I give you credit. You're showing up today, even though you probably felt like you didn't want to. So I'm sending you tons of love, sister.
Oh, thanks for recognizing that, because I was like, oh, I don't want to cancel on Grace again, but I want to go under a blanket. But then, oh, I don't want to not teach my class. Well, maybe I can teach my class earlier, maybe one or the other. And I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm going to do both, because
There you go.
I'll show
So
up.
this is that.
I might be tired. I might be whatever, but I'm going to just, like you say, you don't have to be perfect to show up. You just,
No.
just keep going and just.
Yes.
I had a therapist when I was in my early 20s that said, all you have to do is show up and breathe. And I'll never forget that. Like, wow, I can do that. Show up and
And you did a
breathe,
great
and then
job.
see what happens, right? So, oh man. All right. Well, we'll stay in touch, and we'll email you when this is coming out. I think it's a couple weeks, maybe.
We have to look at the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let me know if you need anything from me. I definitely look forward to getting, the whatever the end video is. I'll put it on my website. I'll also share it.
And then
Awesome.
and whatever links you want to share in the description, send to us on our email.
Oh, as far as like my website and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I definitely want to reach out to Sally Walker and thank her for introducing me to you guys.
Oh, she's amazing.
I'll ask you for her information, and then I'll give you my business links.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Little sexy after all.
You know, you do that again, girl.
I thought I was petting the dog, and I was
She was
really
petting my thigh.
touching her leg.
I love it. You guys are awesome.
All right.
All right, my dear.
We
Thank
can
you.
wrap it
And
up.
Mary Anthony, lots of love. If you need anything, it doesn't have to be just reach out.
Okay, I will. I think
Sounds good.
I think
All
I
right,
need the
sweetie.
community
All right.
that I've developed through all of this to get through this now. So it's
You're an
good.
amazing woman.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. So are you. All right. Good night, everybody.
Have a great one. Good night.
Okay.
Until next time.
Bye.